think of Edith Wharton?
What do I think of F. Scott Fitzgerald? I think he is a highly overrated young writer. His work is shallow, degenerate, reeking of gin and jazz.
I think she's a snob. She believes she is still the grand dame of literature.
I prefer old New York. Graceful, gentle, beautiful.
An old dame whose stories include overstuffed furniture and gas chandeliers.
My novel of gas chandeliers still sell well enough to support me.
I, on the other hand, am the voice of our modern generation. The Great Gatsby, a bestseller.
The Age of Innocence, my novel of overstuffed furniture, just won the Pulitzer.
I am what the readers want, not that old bat.
I wish the late Henry James were here to help me right now.
Now, where is my lovely wife?
Yes, Edith?
From one great American writer to another, tell me your thoughts on this Fitzgerald upstart.
Why, Edith, my dear, you mustn't be so closed-minded. I think you should really give his work a
All right,
try.
now where is she?
I don't need to read about extramarital trysts, alcohol,
Zelda,
depressed people.
Get over here.
That sounds like one of your novels, Edith.
Henry, that is the pot calling the kettle. Why, just look at them.
Must you make spectacles of us in public? I hate that.
Me make spectacles of us. What about your torrid affair last party with that big Hunter Hemingway? A pansy with hair on his chin.
I am no fairy. How dare you? Well, this is my southern wife and muse, Zelda Fitzgerald.
Oh, Scott, I am so much more than that. I'm an artist. I'm a ballerina. I'm a
Why, I
painter,
think he could
I'm
even
a
help
writer.
you. Oh, perhaps you could try looking at him through the other end of the telescope.
How might he possibly help me?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you could invite him to tea.
Tea? With me and F. Scott Fitzgerald?
Tea? With Edith Wharton?
Well, I suppose I could teach him something about respect.
Edith Wharton. Who wants to have tea with that stuffy bitch?
You are cordially invited to tea with Mrs. Edith Wharton at the Greenhouse Theater Center in Chicago on May 1st.
Oh, fodder all. I need a bath.
Tea with the jazz age. I must be going batty in my old age.
Tea with Edith Wharton. I've always loved her work.
Tea with Edie and Fitz previews April 26th, opens May 1st, and runs through June 9th at the Greenhouse Theater Center in Chicago. For reservations, call the box office at 773-404-7336 or by visiting www.greenhousetheater.org.
Welcome to Showbiz Chicago, the podcast. I am your host, Michael Roberts, and I am here at the Greenhouse Theater with much of the cast, not the whole cast, mind you, but much of the cast, with the fabulous Tea with Edie and Fitz, written by Adam Payson, who is not here, but might be shortly. So what I actually want to do, I am just going to go around, introduce yourselves, and let me know who you play, and then we're going to go into a deep philosophical discussion about your art.
I'm Reed Motes, and I am the assistant director.
So you have to work with Jim.
I do.
Ah,
I do whatever Jim tells me to do.
I know, me too. I don't know why that is.
He's a persuasive man.
I'm Noelle Solry, and I play Zelda Fitzgerald.
Who's a bit cray-cray.
What? No.
I'm Luke Wren, and I'm playing Max Perkins.
I'm Tracy Green, and I'm understudying Zelda Fitzgerald.
She's a little cray-cray.
Just a little.
I'm Brandon Johnson, and I play the photographer, and I'm also understudying Fitzgerald, Campbell, Perkins, and kind of Chandler.
My God, how much are you getting paid?
I am Ben Muller, and I'm playing Lawton Campbell.
Fabulous. Okay, well, let's start at the very beginning, the rehearsal process. This is a new play, obviously. How has it been from the moment you got your script until the final product now, trying to get the truth of your character?
Well, it's been really great having the playwright participate in rehearsals and everything, because the actual script is working as well. So, like, I don't know, during rehearsals, if something wasn't sounding right, or he was like, oh, I realize this is repetitive when you say it, it would get cut, lots of things added, up until, like, the day before our performance. He still had script changes working with that, and it was really great, too, having him there, because there's some points in the script where it's like, I'm not quite sure what I'm saying or what my character wants, and he was able, because he was the writer, to say, well, this was my intention, like, how can we make it clearer through the writing or through acting, so, yeah.
How much research did you have to do on Zelda?
A lot. A lot of research. I basically got handed a list of biographies that I needed to read, and, I don't know. God, it's so much, so long. And it's really interesting playing someone who's not just a completely fictionalized character, like someone who was actually there. And I know, like, because it's not just about trying to, like, find the character, but it's also, like, who that person was, too, and making sure that's accurately represented.
So what do you relate to her about? Like, you as the person, what do you relate to Zelda?
I think she has this beautiful way of just following through with every impulse that she had, and kind of this no restrictions. And I love that on stage, that's like what you get to do, is just follow through with any impulse you have. And like, that's something, I don't know, my castmates can maybe speak to that a little more, but that's something I kind of do in my life as well. And so that was a part that I really identified with her.
Fantastic. Let's go up to the back.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Yes, I play Max Perkins. That's Fitzgerald's editor. And so they have they have an interesting relationship. But it's been a lot of fun working on this play and with Adam. And my part's small, but there's still line changes thrown at you. Line changes are thrown at us, which is fun. But it was an interesting process working with the playwright, making sure that the lines were correct. And
how much did you know the publishing industry before this play?
Not much, and I don't really have a lot in common with Perkins. So it wasn't that kind of leaping off point that you have with certain characters. And I wanted to keep this guy believable, but it's still something of a character part. He's he's a New Yorker. It's a more of a type A personality, and his relationship with Fitzgerald, there was a little bit of male camaraderie and bonding. So it was a lot of fun. And one moment that really stuck out for me in terms of the rehearsal process was working with the dialect coach Kendra, and she mentioned the New York accent, doing it broader, almost like think of like a gangster. So really doing this broad kind of over the top New York accent, it really kind of brought it to life and allowed me to be bigger, one of the kind of oversized personalities that Perkins was.
Well, speaking of big, look who just came in. Mr. Madison, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Now that you're here.
Good to hear.
So how's the show going?
The show is going swimmingly, I think. I think, it's been a beast. It has been a huge tightness, if that's not a word, I just made it up. It has been a titan of a play.
It is a beast, though.
It is. I mean, there's so much contained.
Just the time frame it goes through, the people it...
Right, and it's been, as an actor, it has been such a hard, but such a rewarding kind of era to explore, because there's so much going on at this time. It's 1925, and the Jazz Age is just something that I think is really interesting. I think especially for our generation, is it's something that we can kind of identify with, but not necessarily to the extent that the Jazz Age. I mean, you're coming out of the bloodiest war of all time that we've ever seen after World War I, and the feeling of life has been completely diminished, and these people have hit the boom, and suddenly they have more money than they know what to do with, and life feels like it could end at any point. And so life becomes this giant party, and being able to play with that has been so fascinating, especially as a young actor. I think leaving the college scene, it's been really interesting to kind of understand that mentality of the party mentality of just trying to forget everything for a while. But beneath that, I think, is where this play really sings. And I think that this play really captures the grandeur of the time, but when that falls away, what's really found underneath that has been a joy to play with as an actor. I think it's been marvelous.
So let's talk about, I'm sure.
Very hard.
Very hard. Let's talk about F. Scott.
Sure.
And Zelda. Their relationship is central to the play. And how was it rehearsing your characters and developing, to what we see today? Because really, it is a cantankerous relationship.
Yes.
You're dealing with mental illness, you're dealing with, sexual questioning.
Right. And alcoholism.
I know, everything.
Right, yeah. It's been a journey, it's been a journey, and there are so many layers there that it has been a slog and a violent one to figure out exactly who these people are.
It's not been all that bad.
There's just so much going on, and finding out how to contain all of that, and how to make sure all of that plays a very important role in the characters, I think has been, for me personally, has been a slog. It's been very difficult, but once again, it's been awesome to explore.
It's been good, and then also we've had a really long rehearsal process for the show.
Yes.
And so where it's starting, and just trying to find out, how do you get from point A to point B in this scene? It makes no sense at first, but the more you layer in and the longer rehearsals and learning just really how to I think especially with me and Madison, it was learning how to actually just talk to each other on stage, because that's just a big part of it, is when we actually start to listen to each other. That's when more layers come in, and then you start to understand the characters more, and it builds on that. But having I bet seeing the first run through we did to what you see on stage is so different, because there are all those layers in there now versus it could be a very static and kind of boring, especially that last scene that we have. It started out with a screaming match between us, because that's what it could be, but then again it's listening and building in those layers, and then taking in all the history, and then who are these people, and what was their relationship, and what do we have in common with them versus what they do and not, and things like that.
So who is F. Scott to you?
F. Scott to me he's so fascinating to me, and he's so insanely complex, because F. Scott Fitzgerald to me was a man who was so aware, tragically aware of his talent. And it comes off, as pretension. He was certainly pretentious, and I think he was largely arrogant. But I think he genuinely, as an actor, I believe that he absolutely understood how good he was at what he did. And it was so frustrating to him, because he, much like Gatsby, like we see Gatsby, he had this massive vision for what his life should be. And so because of all of these things that he wanted and that he believed he had the capability to achieve, when things didn't match up to that, he became incredibly depressed, and he became incredibly violent to the people around him, and turned to drinking and things like that. And so he's insanely complex, and it's been so interesting, for the last couple of months to really, really dive into that and study that.
Have you seen Gatsby the movie?
I have, in fact. I have.
It's fantastic.
I loved it. I was obsessed with it.
I thought that was supposed to be a cast outing.
I was all about it.
Give us some.
We can go tonight. So let's go around. Who have I missed here? I know I got a light in my eyes, so. I know there's people out there.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Peter Esposito.
Oh, hello, Peter.
How are you?
I'm good.
I say Teddy Wharton.
Yes, you do.
Which is not a stretch for me at all.
So tell us about Teddy.
Teddy, just, the little I know about him, came from a real wealthy family, and, was an outdoorsman, a sportsman, and so on, but he had the mental illness that overtook him as the years went on, and he was a philanderer, played around a lot, and, it was kind of like a tornado roaring through everybody's lives, just kind of ripping everything up and destroying stuff in its path, and not really fully aware of of the destruction he was causing. So, and that's how I see him. I understand a lot about drinking. I don't know, I don't know a lot about real mental illness, but I know a lot of people that have that. And
That's what's so great about the play too, is that Edith's family is going through the same thing that you are.
Right.
But just,
yeah, there's a parallel.
There's so many parallels.
Peter's scene just breaks my heart every night.
It's awful.
Every night.
Thank you.
okay, let's keep going.
Oh, I'm going.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look who's here. Hi, Patty.
I find Edith very fascinating as, it's very interesting to play somebody who, it's not, you can't just create a character, you have the parameters of what their real life happens to be. And so I don't know as much about her. I came into the rehearsal process a little bit later than everybody else, and so I only had a chance to really get into one biography of hers. And so it's, trying to explore and make her as big and as interesting as you can, but given the confines of how she really existed. And Adam has found, it was fun reading through the biography because so many things, I get to a part of it and say, oh, that's what that line means. The cartoon on my ruin, it's like, oh, there's the cartoon, that makes sense now. And, he just picked up so many, little things from that. But it's just, the script is really, any script is a challenge, but this one is so beautifully written and, full of such big words, which is silly, but it gives you a chance to really explore and finding everything that's possible in there. One of the things that I always try and do in any endeavor is find the humor in it, and because even in the midst of great struggles,
Absolutely.
people smile, you have to back off a little bit from, you can't be relentlessly fighting all the time or relentlessly sad all the time, and so we're always looking to find little moments of when people are happy in the midst of their sadness and all that.
So what surprised you the most about Edith?
That's a tough one. I don't know. One of the things that makes me saddest for her is that she basically ended up her life with no family, and at this point in her life, she died, 11, 12 years later after this play ended, and at this point in this play, she really has nobody in her family anymore, and I come from a big family. I have brothers and sisters around, I have children, I have grandchildren, and if I didn't have those, if I had Edith's life, it would be, to me, so sad. Now, she had a lot of things. She had good friends, she had, a very rewarding career. She had a lot, but I wouldn't want what she had, and that's what, so maybe that's one of the things that surprises me the most, that it just makes me sad that she didn't have that, because I think that's such a special thing.
And what do you have most in common with her?
I would like to wordplay, like to find things out, like to plot things, like to solve problems, be creative. I'm not sure, but that because I don't write, but when I can express something through the written word, I'm very pleased with myself. So when I can say something and it sounds erudite.
Ooh, you know what that word means.
Okay. Going around the bend.
That's you. Well, I think it's us. We're you. But yeah, I'm Tracy again, understudying Zelda. It's been an interesting experience for sure. I came in a little bit late myself into the process, but one of the first things I noticed was how welcoming and warm everybody was. So that was say.
Have you gone on yet?
I have not, but come Saturday we are going to get our chance. Just super exciting. Absolutely, and it's kind of been a nice little balancing act, being able to observe so much and see all the wonderful things that Madison and Nora have been discovering, but then also having, our own time to play and find things for ourselves and still fit that structure, but ultimately finding intentions and honesty that works for us. So I'm very interested to see what happens Saturday. We're gonna find out, one way or the other.
And how often do you have to rehearse?
How can we get to rehearse?
There's the rub.
Well, in the beginning, Jim was really great about splitting up the time. For instance, when we were first blocking scenes, Madison and Nora would get a go, and then sometimes we'd have the chance to follow up. But then, as the process wore on, it became more and more imperative that they got as much time to work as possible, so then it became more about observing. But we managed to squeeze in a run of our own on Tuesday, which is great.
Lovely.
Yeah, we try and rehearse with Reed about once a week.
And always running lines backstage when possible, and, developing our friendship to parallel our relationship on stage.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
A
all
script is merely a guide. Always remember that. And finally?
What are we talking about?
What about Gracie?
Yeah.
She's
I did not even see you behind the chair.
I'm easy to miss.
No. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I am doing fine. So you are the maid, you are Miss Everything Maid, and confident.
Well, as far as I know anyway, she and Edie had a lifelong relationship, close relationship. So she's able to prick and prod Edie a little bit and then also knuckle under.
And really, it's one of trust.
Yes.
The only one I think Edith has,
Yeah.
besides the dog.
I was going to say,
Obviously.
Lasting relationship.
So how much research is there out there about your character?
I don't know, I go from the gut.
And sometimes that's the best way to go.
Well, when we were reading and starting it, we talked about her a bit, but they gave me certain parameters that they wanted this character to be, and that's what I went with.
And it's a fine line because it's very comedic, but yet you still have to have that balance, of drama in your part. I equated you to like Rosario from Will and Grace.
Yes. Rosario. That's who you are.
I'm very Shakespearean.
There's not a whole lot to be found research-wise on Lawton Campbell. I did find one thing that was like a couple of pages that he'd written. The title was "The Fitzgeralds Were My Friends." He wrote it in like the 40s. I think it was just shortly after F. Scott Fitzgerald passed away, and there was, of course, lots of. I think there was something of a revival of interest in his work around that time, and because of that, he wanted to talk about his experiences knowing them. And basically, when he appears in this play around 1925, there was a point where he was in Paris and he ran into them, and that's when they go up to the hotel room and they see them. He talks about how they seemed happy, but they also seemed like they were falling apart a bit, and he could see, looking back on it at least, he could see that was kind of a point where they were beginning to go down the path that they ended up taking, which is separating and kind of dying horribly. Well, yeah, that's all I could find. It was a great thing to find because my purpose in this play really is to be kind of a foil to them for a particularly tempestuous point in their relationship. And so I was glad to find that much at least.
So what's the audience reaction been to the play?
Very positive from what we hear.
Yeah, no, it's been very positive, but it's been all over the place. Like, every night, they find something else completely differently funny. Like, it's been so hard to gauge, where we assume people are going to laugh, what they're going to find funny, what they're going to find sad, because from night to night, it's felt like it's been all over the place. Which has been really interesting because it keeps us completely and totally on our toes. Like, we can't rely on the laugh line because there's maybe two that we have consistently got the same laugh every night. So it's been so
And then
interesting.
you've never read Tolstoy. That's why everyone laughs.
And then everything else is just, it's depending on the night and depending on the audience and depending on so many factors. So we've just been forced, but luckily enough to just play, which has been awesome. It's been so cool.
And the show's very tight at this point, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. I mean, I would hope so.
Oh, I still don't know what I'm doing. It's not gonna change. It's not gonna change.
So, before we leave, I just want to talk about sexuality in this play. Because it really is, I think, one of the biggest underlying themes.
Sure.
And for F. Scott, did you make a conscious decision to be like bisexual or gay or anything like that?
I made a decision, I won't tell you what it is. But yeah, I made a decision, and I think it's very interesting because that was one of the biggest things that we talked about, and at the end of the day, what we decided was that whether or not F. Scott had done something with Ernest Hemingway, which is, for anyone who has not seen the play, is largely the person in question about F. Scott Fitzgerald's sexuality. Is we all know that he was having sexual issues with Zelda, that he wasn't able to satisfy her and they were having problems in their sex life. But Ernest Hemingway is the one that comes into question about was he or was he not. And at the end of the day, the point that Jim and Adam made very clear was whether I made the decision that he had or had not physically slept with Ernest Hemingway, he was, no matter what decision was made, he was emotionally cheating on Zelda. And that was what really mattered, was that emotionally he was interested in another person, another human being, whether male or female, that was not Zelda. And so that has been the major focus on the approach to the sexual question, was that there has been this relationship with another individual, at least emotionally, if not sexually, that wasn't her.
And on the other side, Edith's husband was either bisexual or gay.
Well, it's one of the things that eventually got cut out of the play is that it...
The threesome?
Pardon? That Edith did not know the facts of life until 3 or 4 days after her wedding. Her mother never told her anything about that. She did not know that. But,
wow.
And also,
you too?
Yeah. I was a little more aware than that. Probably not as up to date as my children are. But, so that was in the play originally, and but now it's not. But she certainly knows that there are other sexualities out there. I think she's very aware of what she's trying to get Henry James not to say. Because she, by the time, at this point in her life, she is more aware. Those things went on in Victorian times, they just didn't get talked about a lot. And obviously, they didn't get talked about soon enough for Edith, but by that, by later on, she was more aware of it. But she knows what's going on with him, but she likes him and loves him anyway, loves him on a platonic level.
Accepts all unconditionally,
All the conflict.
Well, and I wondered about why she never had children. Was, what was the issue? Was it, did she and Teddy just not ever have much of a sex life, or was she barren?
The honeymoon, I think, was almost over. It was, I think it was in real life.
That could very well be why it is.
Well, you guys have a show to do tonight, apparently.
Wow, do we?
I'm going out with you. I'm playing Ernest Hemingway.
The audience's questions will be answered.
In my Liberace outfit. So thank you very much.
Thank you
so much.